The other night I was telling a little story that I'd like to share with you today. It's about dogs in relationship to this good dog, bad dog analogy. Two of my friends, Sharon and David, told me this story. They're Americans, and they happen to be visiting Varanasi, which is a very holy place in India on the banks of the Ganges River. And they were walking down the street, and they saw something really pathetic. It moved their hearts, because they're actually very strong animal rights activists, from their hearts. And they happened to see this small, three-legged female dog. She was just hobbling around on three legs, and she looked really thin and hungry and quite pathetic. They decided they wanted to get some food. So they went a couple blocks away and they bought some rotis. That means bread. And they started to feed some of the dogs. And so many dogs came. Not that one, but many others. And when these dogs saw that there were rotis, they're all hungry. And hunger can bring out the worst in people sometimes. And they didn't know how many rotis there were, and they didn't really care. They just wanted the first one. And every one of them were fighting over each roti. They were barking and barking, and maybe a dozen of them were fighting to get into the front. And as soon as they put out the roti, one of them, they would just grab it and start eating it. And others would try to take it away, and the others, then there was enough rotis for all of them. And they were just watching how they were so aggressively trying to get those bread, fighting over the bread. But something moved their heart. There was one particular dog who was very patiently just waiting. He wasn't fighting with the others. He looked really humble. And after everyone else got their rotis, this dog came up to them. And they placed the roti in his mouth, and he took it very gently. And they said, his eyes looked at them, and it appeared they were glossed over with affection and gratitude. And he kind of bowed his head, really humble. And he didn't eat the roti. He just walked away with it. This really fascinated them. It charmed them. They followed the dog. They followed him a couple blocks, and he still didn't eat it. He was just holding it and walking. And he went underneath this cart that was used to sell things. And they followed him underneath the cart. And they looked and saw there was that three-legged female dog that they saw earlier. And she was laying down with a little puppy that she gave birth to. Puppy was really tiny. And the male dog laid the bread in front of the puppy. And the puppy really enthusiastically, blissfully ate it. And the mother didn't eat any of it. And the male, who was perhaps the father, didn't eat any of it. But they were literally with tears in their eyes, they told me. They were watching that little puppy eat the dog, and they were eat the bread. I'm sorry. They were watching the little puppy eat the bread, and they were just so happy. Far happier looking and more satisfied than all those other dogs who ate the bread themselves. So why am I telling this story? I'll try to figure out a justification. What was the root cause of the humility and the respect and the peace of that dog, which made him different than the others? It was love. It was compassion. Because he was feeling love and compassion for that little baby. It brought out such good qualities in him. Whereas the others, because they were selfishly oriented, maybe, and certainly it was all justified, they were hungry, but it brought about so much conflict, and so much anger, and so much fear. So in this similar way, as far as our good dog and bad dog, our divine and negative qualities that are within our own hearts and minds, when we actually are connected to a higher purpose, when we actually learn to experience the value of unselfish love and compassion, that brings about a fulfillment. And when it is on the spiritual platform, it actually brings us to a place beyond greed, selfish passions, envy, anger, and fear.